Hello everyone and welcome to this another live by Coding Ninjas. I hope all of you are great. So today's topic is what how we can clear online rounds of different big product based companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft. So we'll be seeing what should how should we counter those rounds? How should we even practice so that it will be easy for us to clear all those rounds. So we'll be just seeing all those things. Just let me see if I am audible or not. One second. Yes. So as I told you that today's round is how we can clear the big product-based companies online rounds. Nowadays, link ही नहीं आता sir. Okay, Majid, yes. I'm not sure that why link was not there. Yes, thank you. I'm audible. So as I told you, we'll be seeing how we what how should we even counter those online rounds. So I have made some few points, some important points that we should always keep in mind when we are preparing for these companies. So we'll be just seeing all of those. Just bear with me. My voice is not okay right now, so I'll just try to speak clearly so that all you can understand. So basically, we all know that big product-based companies like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, they conduct so many interview rounds, right? So many interview rounds, so many written tests, more than normal companies. At least there are around 4 or 5 rounds, which comprises of HR interview, technical interview, or the written test, sometimes GD as well if they are on campus. So all these things happen in these companies rounds, and it's difficult. Otherwise, everyone could clear it. So we how should we practice so that we it will be easy for us to clear all these rounds. So let me just share my screen so that we can begin. Yes, all of you guys can put your questions in the chat. When I have covered some topic, I have explained some topic, then I'll take some questions, and then again I'll continue to explain the topics that I've written down so that it will be easier for us to clear those rounds. Yes, I hope my screen is visible. Let me just check. Yes, my sorry guys. So as I told you that these companies conduct multiple rounds. So we'll be seeing all those rounds one by one so that we should practice for these rounds consecutively. We can't prepare for HR interview in the first go. We should first prepare for round 1, then round 2, then round 3. Your order of preparation should be in this way only. So the first round is basically the telephonic interview. I have talked to many number of peoples. I have talked to I have read many interviews. I have seen many videos. So I can definitely say that I have researched about this, and these companies do conduct telephonic interview. Many of the people don't know that they conduct telephonic interview. They think that the first round itself is the coding contest or the coding round. This is also kind of a coding round, but it is a telephonic interview. It is around now 45 minutes. They give one DS algo based problem, and they just want you to solve this problem in a particular time frame. They may just want you to explain the approach. They may just want you to explain the algorithm that you are going to use to solve that problem, or in some cases they may also want you to code that problem then and there. So these are some of the things that happens on telephonic interview. As I told you, it is not so big. usually takes around 30 minutes to 45 minutes. They give ample amount of time. It is just one question, and mostly it is of medium level. It is exactly based on DSL go. They may ask questions on recursion or some basic topics like trees, graphs, not some DP type of problem. Generally, they don't ask. They ask from these topics only. So be mentally prepared to give the telephonic interview. So this was round one. I hope this is clear. If you have any doubt, you can put the questions in chat. I'll be taking those questions later. So this is comparatively easy, and some companies do take multiple telephonic interviews. Let me remind you this also. Sometimes there are two rounds, not more than two, but yes, sometimes there are two telephonic interviews as well. After that, they decide that if you are be able enough to go through the next rounds. This is like a screening thing. They are just checking you if you are even capable to sit for the next round, which is the written test. And that is basically where most number of people get screened out. So this was round one. Now let's jump to round two, which is the main round. So after you have cleared telephonic interview, or sometimes let me just point out one point as well. Like when you are giving Google contests like Kickstart, you know Google hired from Kickstart contests. So if you have performed well in Kickstart, they skip telephonic interview. You get you go directly to the this written round. So it is also possible if you have performed well in some prior areas, they may skip telephonic interview. But this round happens in all of those companies, all the big product based companies, especially in Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And the all the things remain quite similar in all these rounds. So obviously you will find coding questions there. Obviously, there is no denying fact that you will find coding questions. Now, in some companies, you will find only coding questions. That you will find there are only 2 to 3 coding questions, not less than two, and generally not more than three. If it is more than three, then maximum four, but not more than four. Generally, it is 2 to 3 questions. But in some rounds, sometimes they also ask three other things like MCQs, aptitude, and output questions of C++ and Java. So you have to prepare for all these topics in your round two. As I told you, that you will be encountering for sure coding questions. So what are the their most likable topic that they ask questions frequently? I have written down some points around that. See, when we practice problems, we practice specific scenarios. Like, we'll be giving an array, we'll have to sort it, we'll have to find the, maximum sub array sum. Like this question, we practice specific questions, specific scenario based problems. But in these rounds, you generally get story specific questions. You may not know what to use in this question and how to approach this question if you are if you haven't done practice enough of story specific questions. So it becomes must that you practice story based questions. Now I am not saying that you have to solve 100 to 200 story specific questions. If you have done at least 25 to 30 story specific questions, then obviously you get an idea that how to approach these problems. If you get an idea that okay, this is the story, this is their what they will be giving us, and this is what they expect us to do, that will be cakewalk for you. But you have to practice story specific questions, otherwise you might find a bit difficult because they'll give you long paragraphs. So sometimes our mind doesn't cope up with these long paragraphs. So be specific, practice story specific problems around at least 25 to 30 story specific problems. And the questions they ask are generally are from medium to hard. You will not find easy questions obviously you will find medium questions and some hard problems as well. Suppose if there are three coding questions in your round, you will find two are around medium level and one is obviously hard. You will always find one hard question as well. As I told you, this is one of the major screened out process. Very less number of people clear this round. The next topic for coding questions that they generally ask from is DP, dynamic programming. You obviously have to master it, or at least have good rhythm in it, because there will be a time constraint. Like you'll have only 1 hour or 2 hour or 1.5 hour in which you have to solve all these coding problems. So it becomes imperative that we practice all these problems. You have to practice dynamic programming. It is their one of the most favorite topics. You have to practice graphs questions, trees questions, and some advanced data structures like tries. So you have to practice all these problems because they generally don't ask uh, a specific ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आपको एक क्वेश्चन दिया और आप जनरली एक चीज आपने लिखी, फटाफट एक लॉजिक लिखा और आपका आंसर आ गया. It generally don't happen like that. Obviously you will have to use some algorithm or have to make an approach in solving all this. They don't ask straightforward questions, so you have to practice around all these problems because these are a bit difficult and bit tricky. But once you get a hold of it, these questions will come easy to you. It will be a cakewalk. So this was about 2 to 3 coding questions. Now we always focus on when we are preparing for these companies round, right? We always talk about DSA and competitive programming, right? We always focus on coding questions, but we tend to forget these three main points as well. These three things are also asked in the rounds. So if you don't practice for these topics, you will not get to the interview part. So you have to practice these questions as well, like MCQs. Sometimes you will find only, as I told you, sometimes you will find only coding questions, but yes, there are many instances when you will find a combination of these topics. For example, MCQs, they may ask MCQs from OS, DBMS, computer networks. These three are their favorite topics to ask MCQs from. Suppose from OS, they ask many questions from deadlock. In DBMS, they ask many questions from normalization. So you have to practice these problems. And the best part about this is, the theory part is limited. They they cannot ask so much differently in these topics. So if you are just keen enough, you you can just cover in this. When there is only 1 month remaining, just read the questions in these topics. Just read them. Read once, read twice. You can just Google that interview questions from DBMS or MCQs questions from DBMS, from OS, from computer networks, and you will get a good set of questions of 100 to 300 questions, and you can just read them, and it will give you a fairly good idea that what will be the questions coming in your rounds. So do consider these as well. Be be prepared to tackle these as well. So this is also a main round. Now when you have covered MCQs, and let me just come to the output questions of C++ and Java, right? We tend to think that we we know coding, so we may know output questions of C++ and Java. But the output questions are generally tricky. If you are, not if you have not read them or if you have not used them recently, you'll tend to forget things. You'll doubt, oh, should it print this or will it print this? So you'll get confused. Obviously you'll get a little bit confused. The questions will be very easy, but you will get confused. So try to also solve questions around these topics as well, output questions. And the favorite topics of output questions come from pointers, from oops, from dynamic allocations. Do cover output questions from these three topics at least. These are their favorite topics. do master all these things. Now let's come. Now I am assuming that you know you practice all these questions because all these three things are somehow related to core subjects or somehow to coding. So you may also have an idea about all these things, no matter you are specifically trying to be better at it. If you are coding, then obviously you are getting a list of output questions or MCQs. You are getting your basics clear. But the next thing, that is aptitude. You will have to practice this topic, and differently, entirely differently, because many people may handle coding questions, MCQs, output questions, but they lack in aptitude. And this becomes a well defined area of selection or rejection, rather. So aptitude questions will be easy. It will not be hard, it will be only easy. It will be, if you have done those topics, you will be able to do solve questions on that particular topic. For example, the favorite topics that they ask from is, sorry, 1 second, guys. Their favorite topics is time, speed, and distance, permutation and combinations, probability. They will not ask advanced mathematics. They will not ask you, integration and something like that, or geometry. They will not ask you that. They'll ask you fairly easy questions, like 10th. All of you have done 10th, right? And most of the people have maths in their 10th. So the topics will be until 10th maths, but the level of the questions will be a bit higher than obviously 10th. So if you just practice for these questions regularly, you can just solve these type of questions once in a week. So obviously you will be in a rhythm to solve these problems quickly. Obviously you will be able to solve these questions. It is not a matter of how, it is a matter of when and how fast, because every one of you will be able to do these questions. So the one thing that sets you apart from the rest of the group is how fast you do these questions. So do focus on your aptitude as well. Don't just ignore this part. So this was round 2. uh, Now let me just see some, some questions. I will buy coding Indians for 50 billion in future. 50 billion, yes. Oh, bro. Team, uh, our is enough for Uber and Google. Please, bhaiya, tell me. See, obviously you can apply for it. If you don't apply, you are obviously rejecting yourself. Just through, go apply to these companies, because many people have a fear that my resume is not good enough. What if they reject me? What if they don't shortlist my resume? Just go and at least apply to them. Let's see what their reaction is. If it is not good enough, then practice more. Add more things to your resume. There is not a hard and fast rule that this is enough and this is not enough. So there is not a yes or no answer to this question. Just go and apply to them. Sir, I have completed my BSc CS now, and my question is that should I go for MCA or with BSc CS just go for companies? There are there are so many vacancies right now. You can apply for those vacancies as well, and you can simultaneously pursue your MCA as well. If you find good companies and you are motivated enough to work in that company to make a better future, then don't go for MCA. But if you don't want a gap year, if you are not placed in any company and you are finding it difficult, then go for MCA. USA में हो आप नहीं bro. I have completed M.Tech from NIT. How can I got a job in company like this? Okay, today I am talking about the the specific rounds of these companies. But you will also find roadmaps how to prepare for these companies as well. There will be link in the description below. You can just click and check the roadmap. Just follow those roadmaps and you will be able to clear all these rounds. Yes, DS, right. I joined career camp professional, so what should I do with this course to crack interview? Okay, as I told you that interview, your technical interview generally revolves around your technical skills, right? So you just have to master those skills. But other than that, you also have to master your communication skills. I'll come to that later in this video. So maybe I'll be answering your questions then. So my holidays are going on before starting of third year. I have completed DSA completed, so I am confused. Should I go to CPED? This is one of the major questions that people ask during summer break. See, until you do both these topics, you will not find a genuine answer. It is not about me, right? It is about you. Just give 1 week to both of these topics. If you find that you are getting interested in competitive programming, or you are getting some interest in development, then go in that field. Talk to some people who you think will give you genuine advice. Not me. I went into competitive programming because my interest was not in development. So just search for those answers within you. Just give time to both these topics and you will find an answer. मेरे सीपी करना होगा ऑनलाइन करने के लिए लीड कोड से हो जाएगा मैं अभी ज्वाइन किया सेशन See, obviously, competitive programming helps you a lot. It will always give you an edge over others. So I'll not suggest to just forget about competitive programming. Just go prepare for it. If you have time, do prepare for it. There are some instances that people they don't CP and they do crack these interviews rounds and they do get into those companies. But that is not a general scenario. Obviously, if you do competitive programming, you will have an edge. DSA clear the round one. Not generally. Obviously, competitive programming will also help you very much. Do go for competitive programming as well. So let me just come to that, again to that slide, and you can just put all of your questions in the chat, and I'll be answering all those questions again. Let me just cover all those topics that I want to share. See, we have talked about the telephonic interview and the main written round, right? Now comes round three. After you have cleared technical rounds and you have cleared written rounds, then you will find technical interview rounds. And the one thing that is common in these companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they take multiple technical interviews. Obviously, they'll take at least 2 technical interviews. So we'll have to be mentally prepared for that. So let's just see what they generally ask in these things. See, yeah, in this 1 or 2 technical rounds, at least, at least 2 technical rounds, they ask coding problems. They want you to code those solutions right then and there in front of them. They'll ask you medium to hard problems, and not more than 2 problems they'll give you in an interview. Or generally, these technical interview happens for 45 minutes. So they will not give you more than 2 questions. The questions will be from medium to hard, and the basic thing that they expect from you is first you have to explain your approach to them, and then you have to code the solution. This is what they require. This is what they expect you to do. So they'll ask you a question. It will be not a story specific question. It will be straightforward question. Like uh, they'll ask you that you have been given an array. You have to do this with the array. How will you do this? Now your approach should be optimized. They want you to be optimized in your approach. You can start with the brute force approach as well, but eventually they ask you to be optimized in your solution, like with time complexity as well as space complexity. So don't just start writing the code after listening to the solution. Just think for a second, just think for a minute or two, then explain your approach to them, that how you are coming to this solution, how you are thinking that I may find the solution going down this path. If you're on the right track, they'll tell you, okay, okay, go on, go on. But if you're absolutely on the wrong track, they'll stop you then and there, and they'll ask you to reconsider another path. So this will help you in saving your time as well. Suppose if you're not speaking, you are wasting your time if you are on the right, wrong approach. So you have to first explain your approach to them, and if they uh, telling you that yes, you are on the right track, how, okay, how can you optimize this, then obviously you're on the right track. You can continue on that path. After some time, when you think you have explained enough, then start writing your code. Now, two most important things that you should keep in mind while writing those codes is, first, write clean code. And what do I mean by clean code? Like, don't take unnecessary variables which you are not using. Your variable names should be specific. Don't just say A, B, X. It will not be good, because in companies you have to write a clean code so that the other person can, when he's reading your code, he should be able to get what this variable is actually doing, what are we calculating here, what this function is doing. So your names should be very clear. This is what do I mean by clean code. Now, the other thing that you should keep in mind while writing a solution is that do check for bugs and errors. Suppose you have write the solution and you think your solution is right, okay, but do check it again before presenting it to the interview, because they are waiting to catch a mistake on your side. They are waiting to catch a bug or error. So do check before giving it to the interview that there will be not some errors or bugs, or maybe some case you haven't handled, some edge case that you haven't handled in that approach. Just try to check that approach once before giving to the interviewer. This will help you a lot. In the first two technical interview, they ask coding questions mostly. So this was about the technical interview that generally happens. Now let's come to round 3, which is also a technical interview. But in this technical interview, they will not ask you. They generally don't ask you coding problems in this. They ask questions around your projects and your core subjects. Suppose you have written down some skills in your resume, like, okay, front end development, back end development. Like front end, you have wrote HTML, CSS, right? Now these things are very vast. They'll not be able to ask many questions on that topic. So they ask you specific questions, and those specific questions comes from your project. Obviously, for getting into these companies, you must have a good project. Now, when you have made a project, they will ask you what are the different technologies that you used in this project. Now, when you have said that these are the technologies that I have used in this project, and these are your skills that you have worked upon, or these are the top areas that you have worked upon in this project, then they'll ask you very specific questions based on that project and based on that skill. So it becomes important, it becomes imperative that you do know your projects in and out. Don't take your project lightly, because they will ask many questions, they will go deep in that project. Now, one thing that sets apart your project from the you know most of the other people's projects is if you have deployed your project, if your project is live. So don't just make a project for the name's sake, do deploy it also, so that they'll know that you have handled enough edge cases to make it even deploy. Now when you deploy some project, they know that you I have, you must have found many problems in your project, and you have, and solve all those problems. It will set you apart from the crowd. So one thing about that, this, your project is, just make it live, make it deploy. Do deploy your project, and do know your skill in and out, and do know your project in and out. Suppose, one second. Now suppose, okay, I forgot what I was saying. Yes, in your project, you may be using different kinds of skills, right? There is front end, there is, back end. I am assuming that you have made a development project, and there is front end, there is back end. So, sometimes people don't do both of these things. Sometimes you'll be doing only front end, sometimes you'll be doing only back end. So it doesn't matter that what areas you are working on, you have to know the other areas as well. Suppose if you have worked on front end, it does not mean that you shouldn't know anything about the back end in your project. Do at least cover all the basics of the other technologies that you have used in your project, how they are communicating, how they are relying on each other, how the data is processing, and where the data is getting stored, on which platform you have made this, what are the different problems that you encountered during your projects, what was the thought process behind making this project, how did you decide, what to use, which technology to use in this project. So these are the some very basic questions that you should, have an answer for. Sorry, my throat is not okay. So this was about project, right? Now let's come to the other part, that is core subjects. Obviously they'll be asking you questions from your core subjects also. It doesn't matter if you are only from CS branch. It it doesn't matter if you are only from, some core branch like electrical or some other branch, electronics. They will ask you from your core subjects as well. Do cover those core subjects, thoroughly. They'll be asking many questions in those. Now sometimes interviewer asks, which subject you like. Now it is a tricky question. Suppose you say DBMS, and if they ask questions from DBMS and you are not able to answer that question, if you are not able to answer that question, then it might, give a very negative impact on the interviewer. So make some subjects in which you have, covered thoroughly, covered all the topics, so that if interviewer gives you this option, you may be able to, take advantage of it. Sorry guys, 1 minute. Let's take some questions. For internship specific coding question asked are also medium to hard. Interview internship specific, yes. In internship they'll at least ask medium level questions, if not hard. Be prepared to tackle in medium questions. Is there any difference for these rounds for fresher? Yes, there is difference between freshers and experience, because for experienced person they may ask some different topics like system design in, in deep, and some other topics as well. So it is different for freshers and experience. Yes, I've answered this question. For Amazon, more questions are asked from DSA. All of these companies are, quite similar. They ask so much question from DSA. ये मेरा ग्राफ एंड डीपी अच्छा है, बाकी डीएस टॉपिक कवर कर लिया है। 8 मिनट क्वेश्चन ग्राफ और डीपी साथ साथ रोज पढ़ रहा हूँ। ठीक है ना? हाँ, yes, obviously you are going great, but अगर आपका ग्राफ और डीपी बचा है, do cover those topics as well, because these are very two important topics and you are on the right track rather than basic questions. So Kanya, okay, I'm not getting the reference. Please answer. Please provide some crisp and to the point resources for preparing. Okay, as I told you that when you are preparing for your coding rounds, right? Do give contests regularly because they will help you a great lot in solving those questions in a particular time frame. This is the one rule. Don't you know ignore coding contests. It will greatly help you. What to say when I only know approach of question but not the optimized one in interview? Okay, you know the solution, right? At least you will know the brute force approach, and you are not able to think, then the interviewer there will help you in making a approach. They will help you to guide, you know they'll guide you to a solution. They'll say something like, what if you use this data structure, what if you calculate this instead of this. They will give you an idea how to get to the optimized solution. Obviously, many of the people don't get to the optimized solution in one go. The interviewer is there to help you out. Yes, I have answered this question. Competitive programming necessary? Yes, it is necessary. We have basic simple and app development. If you have done it instead of competitive round, you have done it. Okay, but to get to the interview round, yes, they will ask you web development in the interview. So to get to that round, you have to pass the written rounds in which they ask coding problems, and those coding problems, if you have done competitive programming, will come easy to you. That's why competitive programming is must, so that you clear these rounds. Only then you will able be to showcase your development skills. Only then. Please provide the link of the resource you are sure. I'll put the link in the description. What to say when I okay, programming. Yes, you should always know, Sukanya, the basics of the programming, and advanced concepts as well. I hope that is what you were asking. Sukanya, it is enough, I guess, if you have done. Okay, someone is answering your question. Okay, thanks, Samay, but it is enough. Okay, thanks, Samay, but it is tough to do those from non-sales branch. See, Sukanya, it is not tough. It is just about practice and how much time you are giving to those questions. If you are consistent enough, obviously you will be able to solve these number of questions and more than these number of questions. In initial time, you will find it difficult to solve those questions, but eventually you will be better at it. As you said, Samir, but sir said competitive programming you should do. Yes, as I told you, if you do some other things, you can only showcase these skills in your interview only. But to get to the interview part, you have to pass the online interviews rounds. Oh, sorry, online coding rounds. And in that, competitive programming really helps you a lot. And when I talk about optimized approach, when the interviewer asks you, competitive programming, greatly help you there. It will always give you an edge over others. So do, at least I am not saying go do just do competitive programming all day long, but do cover competitive programming as well. Hello, I am looking for switch. Yes, Sarans, you can see other lives as well, and you will be, it will greatly help you in making a switch, that how you can prepare for switching company. But as you are preparing for switch, you should at least know that what you have done in your previous company. Obviously they'll be asking you that, so you should focus on that as well. Does lead same in interview also? Yes, in lead code generally you ask, they ask straightforward questions, and interview also they ask straightforward questions. So lead code is a very good platform to practice those problems, and code studio as well. And sometimes you can practice company specific questions, like this company asks generally from these topics, so that you can prepare those topics in advance. If you know a topic, that they ask generally from, just do 10 to 15 problems on that topic. You'll master that topic. So these things also help you a lot. Same without any change in the lead questions. Yes, yes, I have answered. Array for internship basic questions are asked. No. For internships, if you are asking about product-based companies, they ask at least medium questions, if not hard. Because these are big companies, they expect you, to be quite good at what you are doing. They'll not just ask basic questions, not only. They may ask basic questions, but not only basic questions. Parth, I have answered your question. You have spammed. Yeah, I may find tough, but yes, it will help me. Yes, sure. Yes, Sukanya. All my questions. Yes. किस प्लेटफॉर्म पर कम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग करना चाहिए? सी, आप प्रैक्टिस किसी एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म पे करो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू वांट टू प्रैक्टिस, जस्ट प्रैक्टिस ऑन लीड कोड, जस्ट प्रैक्टिस ऑन कोड स्टूडियो. Great, these two are very great platforms. But when I talk about your, coding contests, then you can go for different platforms. You can give contests on code chef, you can give contests on code forces as well, you can give contests on lead code and code studio. So these things you can do. भैया आप अपना LinkedIn दे दीजिए please. Anirudh, okay. You can search my name Vikrant Verma and you will find me there. Now let me just cover those topics that are missing. You can just post the questions in the chat. I'll be answering all those questions. So we have covered projects and core subjects, right? As I told you that they'll be also asking you questions from your core subjects. So do cover your core subjects well also. And for core subjects as well, you can, theory part is limited. You can search, like, interview questions from DBMS, interview questions from OS. So you will again get 100 to 300 questions that give you fairly good idea that what are the basic questions that the interviewer might be asking, and what are the answers, what is the, flow of, what should be your flow of answer for that question, particular question. So you can do that also. So all these things were about round 4. Now let's come to round 5, which is HR interview round generally. But in Google, they have given it a different name, that is googliness round, right? You must have heard of this. So in this HR interview, they ask general questions like, tell me about yourself. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Your strengths and weaknesses. And they sometimes may ask some technical questions also. So be prepared to answer all these questions. You get 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys. So these are some of the basic HR interview questions that, obviously you can have an answer already ready with you. So be prepared to tackle all these questions. And again, if they ask some technical questions in the HR interview as well, don't think it is out of the blue, because sometimes they ask technical problems. Now, when I talk about some specific things like googliness round, which is for Google, it is the last round in your interview process. So it is more about your personality. So they may ask questions like how you help others. I have wrote down some specific questions that they ask, so that you can have an answer already ready with you, like how you help others, how you work individually and in team. So you should have an answer to this. How you push yourself out of comfort zone. So these are some of the specific questions that they ask in this round. So be prepared to tackle all these rounds. And one thing, let me tell you, many of the people take HR interview very lightly, that they'll ask very easy questions like standing weaknesses only. but these answers, you know, generally represent your personality. So please be prepared with, and be very careful with your HR interview, because many people get rejected after HR interview. So I don't want you to make that kind of a mistake. That's why be prepared to tackle HR interview round as well. Now I was writing, some tips at the end. So I don't know why it is not there. So let me just, give you verbally some tips that I did write down here. That practice contest. As I have told you, that when you practice questions, you get habitual in doing certain questions in a particular time frame. Obviously, in all of these rounds, you will have a time constraint on upon you. Like in the interview, you will have a 45 minutes generally to solve one or two questions. In your coding round as well, you will have a time constraint in which you have to solve two to three problems. That's why it is imperative to practice coding contests, because you get habitual to handle pressure. So this was one tip. The other tip was, do work on your communication skill. Sometimes you know the answer, right? Interviewer has asked you a question, you know the answer, you know the optimized approach as well. But what if your communication is weak? What if you're not able to convey your thoughts to them? So these things become very important, that you should work upon. Your communication skill should be good, so that you can easily convey your messages. You should be clear enough. And one thing, that in your interview, your tone should be constant. If you know the answer, don't get hyped up. Sometimes when people know the answer, they just uh, they talk quickly, or they talk loudly, or they make some hand gestures very regularly, or they may get fidgety. So these type of things you should not do. Maintain a calm and relaxing posture, and just answer all the questions in a relaxing tone, in a constant tone. If you don't even know the answer to some question, just think for a second, or a minute or two, and then you can say that I don't know. But don't just say then and there I don't know. Just think for a minute or two, and then say I don't know, in a constant tone, as I told you. If you know the answer, or if you don't know the answer. So this was point 2. The point 3, that if you are applying in these three companies, referral always gives a boost to your resume. So do ask for referrals. You can search many people in LinkedIn, or you may find your some seniors of college, or you may some find friends of friends. You can ask referral from, because obviously in these companies referral matters. So do ask for referrals before you are applying to these companies. It will greatly help you. So these were some of the tips that I wrote down. Maybe I am missing something. I'll just tell you if I remember anything. So let me just take some questions again. Okay. I have given you my LinkedIn, Vikrant Verma. You can search for it. They, but I have seen that they make changes in lead code questions. Obviously, you will not find a exact same question, but the approach should, will be quite similar. Don't learn an approach, don't learn a solution. Just remember the approach to a specific problem, so that you can counter all the different type of problems on that approach. It will greatly help you. Similar type of questions are asked by a lead. Yes, you will find many of the questions are there on lead code as well, on code studio as well. You can practice problems on both these platforms, but both of these platforms are very good. But some questions will be different, so that's why I'm saying that you can just practice on two platforms. Code studio and lead code is more than enough. Don't jump to platforms for practice. Just Do coding contest in other platforms. For practice, do lead code and code studio. नहीं मिल रहा भैया, सर्च किया था. Okay, it may say some, I am working in TCS at a digital role, so it will say something like that. What are the some core subjects I must, it depends upon which branch you are from. Suppose if you are from CSIT branch, you should obviously, it is not negotiable, you should obviously know DSA and DSA and DA. The other thing that OS, DBMS, your computer networks. So these things are very important subjects that you should, obviously master upon. अच्छा, अनिरुद्ध मिल गया आपको, ठीक है. यस, मैं भी मेरठ से हूँ. To become grandmaster on code forces is no joke. Yes, obviously it is no joke. Please, can you share your LinkedIn profile? As I told you, you can search my name. I am going to start. I have done DSA course on coding. Yes, Coding Ninjas DSA course is very good. If you have done that course, obviously you are way ahead in your DSA journey. Not done any other questions till now. Yeah, this is where you are lacking. Just doing some course is not enough. You have to practice those questions, on the at particular topic. Suppose if you have done graph data structure, right? You have done some questions. You now know the basic idea how to do those questions, but obviously to master upon that topic you have to practice problems on that thing. Like you can do start with easy questions, do medium questions, then do hard questions as well. That's only how you can master. But don't just stand and just sit there. Obviously doing some courses obviously not enough. You have to just give it a little bit more effort. As I told you, you are asking should I do CP or dev in these holidays. It depends upon you. Do give time to competitive programming and development. See where your interest lies. If your interest lies in development, then go for development, but don't just fully ignore competitive programming, because obviously it will greatly help you in coming months or in coming rounds when you will be entering your placement season. What are the course of the yes, Deepa, I have answered your question. And when do intern? Okay, see, for big product based companies internship matters, so you can apply for internships in these companies as well. But if you're thinking about some service based companies or some, not these big product based companies, then generally they don't even ask you about internships. So you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to do internship. If you have internship, then it's very good. If you don't, then obviously you are not missing anything big. Yes, focus on competitive. Yes, surely. To be honest, do whatever you like, development or CP. Yes, as I told you, you can do development on CP, but you can only showcase your development skills in your technical interview when they'll be asking. But to get to that technical interview, you will have to pass your coding rounds, and in that, competitive programming really helps you a lot. So you can't just ignore that, completely. NOS. Okay, not enough. There are some more topics as well, but yes, at least these topics. These are very important topics. In Google, they only ask DSA problem. Yes, as I told you, they generally ask DSA problem. It is not negotiable. But if you have done competitive programming, it will give you an edge in solving those questions. Yes, I belong to tier 3 college. I have my batchmates, I have my juniors who are placed in these companies, and they follow the same roadmap. As I told you, I have created some basic points after talking to many people who are placed in these companies. So you can obviously follow these things. These are the must things, but it is all about your practice, with how you are practicing. Communication skills are very important. Yes, Suganya, you are absolutely right. Okay, I have done. I have answered your question, but I've seen that they make changes. Okay. Yes, obviously, if you don't know some answers, it is not good to beat around the bush, because they know that you don't know answers and you are just wasting your time as well and your interview. If you have some idea, if you're not sure about that, solution, then you can say something about, that approach. But if you are absolutely sure that you don't know anything about this question, then just think for a minute or two and then just say, sorry, I am not getting the solution right now. But I have, okay. Yeah, then okay, okay, I've answered your question. Yeah, so yes, मैं अभी मेरठ से हूँ. There's 2 years of preparation you have to crack these companies. See, there is not a hard and fast rule that you have to prepare for these much time to crack these companies. It totally depends upon you. Some people say that I have cracked this company in 1 month. I have cracked this company in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years. And some people are there who are preparing and are not able to crack these companies. It depends upon how you are practicing, how well you are, how consistent you are, how well you are, with your basics. So it all depends upon these, and the last thing comes, which is your luck. So generally, if you are noob, if you don't know anything, and if you are just preparing right now, it will generally take at least 6 to 9 months if you are consistent enough. I am talking about a general case. It is not a sprint that you can just learn these topics and just go apply for them and just get placed. It is a marathon. Just prepare for it. Be mentally prepared for it, because it will take a mental toll. So be prepared for a marathon. Just keep on, be consistent enough. Yes, 2 years of preparation is more than enough if you're consistent. Maybe if you're consistent, if you're getting all those things, maybe it is not your luck. Just keep on applying to these companies. Okay, I am from CS. Yes. Okay. भैया request कर दिया मैंने. Okay. Sure, Anirudh. Okay, भैया. Suppose if they must do question logic in one question, then how will I solve those questions? Little different logic can create a lot different change in the code. How can I overcome it? Okay, as I told you, before coding your, your coding your solution, you have to give your approach to them. Then, if they say that you are on the right track, then only they'll suggest you to write code on this. So it will be better if you are stuck in some way. You can discuss with the interviewer. Interviewer is there for discussing. He is checking you out, how you are thinking, your problem solving skills. He is there to check how you are thinking, or of the approach. So these things will help you a lot. If you are stuck here in your interview, just ask your interview. Just keep engaging with him. Hello, man. Okay, I have asked your questions, Harsh. Is compiler design and automata necessary? Yes, not so much, but yes, do cover these topics as well, because these are also core subjects and they may ask some questions from these topics. Yes, Abhinav. Okay, so many Meerut guys here. The TCS provide internship in third year. Yes, TCS provide internship in third year as well. Is referral needed for internship as well? Yes, it will greatly help you in these big product based companies. Sure, or in any company rather. Referrals always help. I completed my engineering in 21. Right now, in my final year, I cleared Wipro, I cleared Accenture, I cleared TCS. So right now, due to my personal reasons, I am, currently working in TCS at digital role. Okay, suppose, okay, is the web development is necessary for cracking companies? Yes, it will give you an edge, because they'll be asking you around your questions from your project, right? So in your project, You must have something like app development or web development. So you must have done something in your project. So you can just showcase that skill in your interview, and that will be enough for you. 10th class, okay. I can do code after seeing questions, but 1, 2, 3, okay. Thank you, bhaiya. Question mark. I don't know. Okay. Nice concept school. I am 2 years experience. How to get opportunity for, yes. There is no other approach. Just keep on applying to them. If they are not replying, then it should not. You should stop applying to these companies. These companies may take different times to answer applications of different individuals. Suppose if they are not liking your resume right now, suppose if there are not enough vacancies right now, but what if they like your resume in future, after some days, after some months. So you just have to keep on applying to these companies, and eventually you'll get an interview uh, you know uh, done with these companies. Just keep on applying to them. Don't self reject. It is very must. If you're applying to these companies, don't ever self reject. Let them reject you if they do. 2 years. Yes, 2 years are more than enough if you're consistent enough. I'm going to learn C++ after boards. Yes, it will be very good. When can we become? I am much confusing with this. What can we do with CP? If you're asking that how should you learn competitive programming, you can take some course on it, so that you will have a guided path to learn competitive programming, and it will greatly help you. And after that, it's just about solving different number of questions and do multiple contests. So these things will greatly help you in becoming better in problem solving skills. Semester time, how to manage coding. you know how long will be your semester, right? It will take around 10 days, 15 days. What about after that? Don't, if in your semester, eh, don't, it is okay in your semester time if you are not doing coding for 10 days. But don't, if you have time, just do half an hour coding as well, so that you are in rhythm of coding. Because coding rhythm gets out of form very easily. You will get out of rhythm very easily. So it is must that you are just thinking about some question, or the best way to you know to do this is to revise some concept. Suppose if you have make notes in semester time, you can revise those notes, so that you will also feel like that I have done something productive to my coding. This will greatly help you. I lost track of the questions. Just wait a second. What is CP? Okay, one second. How to apply on these companies? Okay, you will find some posts on LinkedIn that they are asking. You can apply uh, through LinkedIn as well. Also, you can just go to their sites. There will be a careers option. You can just go and apply to those career options. You will see different vacancies on those portals. You can just go and apply to them. What is okay, what it is competitive programming. I am 2 years experience. How to get opportunity for interview and obviously there is no other approach. You have to just go and apply for it. But do ask for referrals as well. Referrals do work in these companies very greatly. It will give a huge boost to your resume, and reference will greatly help you in scheduling your online rounds with these companies. There is no other way. The basic way is just to go and apply to these companies. Path, okay. Much time should give development, and how much time for competitive programming? See, when you are doing development, making a good project should be more than enough. If you have done a good project, it might take 2 to 3 months, right? If you are doing consistently, I am not saying you should give 10 hours daily. If you are giving 2 to 3 hours to development, then you can give 2 to 3 hours to competitive programming as well. It will greatly help you. एड ऐसे रिमूव करना है, कुछ आता ही नहीं है, मैं सोचता हूँ तो see, yes, when we think, sometimes that do we know enough, in that scenario it's very good to revise the earlier topics, that where notes are very important. Make notes on your topics, whatever you are reading, whatever unique algorithm, whatever unique approach you have encountered, just write those down and just keep on revising them. And those revision will greatly help in motivating that your earlier questions as well. You will feel like that you are moving ahead only, you are not just coming backward again. So revision is also very important. Yes, do DS and competitive programming, it will greatly help you. Okay, my pleasure, bro. Okay, thank you. मेरा रेगुलर ऐसे कर रहा है बट कभी कभी डिमोटिवेशन फील होता है. भाई सबको ही डिमोटिवेशन फील होता है, किसको नहीं होता. When you are consistent enough and you are not able to do some question, obviously you will feel demotivated. The only way to overcome demotivation is, if you are not able to solve some question, right, then check how to solve those problem. Why were you not able to solve these problems? Check hint, check discussions around that question. And then if you are not able to solve that question, then check the solution and check for the approach. And after some time, obviously you will not know when when you became good in that approach as well. So just keep on practicing, just keep on writing just make notes as well, it will greatly help you. If you are not able to solve one question, just make a note and do revise that topic all again, and it will greatly boost your motivation. LinkedIn, you can just search my name, Suganya Vikrant Verma, and you will find it. 2 months left, I don't know what to do. Read good performance completed, how to get Amazon. Okay, see, as I told you, you can see the live, right? The basic interviews rounds and the basic interview process are same in all these companies. It is not about specific Amazon or some Google or Microsoft or any company. The basic rounds is same. For that you have to first do DSN programming, and then uh, you know do core subjects, MCQs, aptitude. These are the way only to crack these companies. So you have to cover a lot. So you have 2 months left, right? But it is just till your final semester, right? Your college. But you will have plenty of time after that also. If you start even now, you can easily master all these things into 6 to 9 months. You will have enough opportunities. There are huge amount of vacancies in today's market, so you can go apply to them. Don't think you have only 2 months left. So just start learning now. Can a person with BCA degree and then B.Tech get into fan? Yes, obviously. संकेत संदीप माहेश्वरी फेल है भैया आपके सामने. अरे भाई इतना मत फेंको. Not having a good internship. Yes, you might find a bit difficult, but if you have made a good project now, then it will surely help you. But generally these big product based companies do prefer internships. But if you don't have, then don't just bother about it right now, right? You can't do anything about that. If just make a good project, just learn some new skills and just showcase to them. Make your project live, deploy your project, it will greatly help you. अच्छा, दाढ़ी काटो, ओके, बहुत बढ़ गई, ओके श्योर. पार्थ पांडे. आपका नाम सुकन्या, यू कैन सी माय नेम विक्रांत वर्मा. So I guess that will be it for today. Hope you guys like this session. Do like and subscribe to Coding Ninjas YouTube channel. We'll be seeing you all again. I'll be seeing you all again, and we'll be taking all your questions. You can just come again to our live sessions. My name is Vikrant Suganya, and till then, goodbye and all the best to your journey, and all the best to all of you. Stay healthy and keep grinding. Bye. Thank you.